asking for the same amount.
Thank you, Pat. I would like to call the meeting of the Tilton Budget Committee to order on October 14, 2015. God, am I getting old. It was a good year. Present are the members of the Budget Committee, excluding Stan. Select Board is present. John Scanlon, Pat Constantino, Catherine Dawson, Peter Falk. Do we know if Joe's going to? Joe's not going to wander in later. That's okay, that's cool. I would recommend to the board that we have people from the Red Cross visit with us, that we postpone other agenda items and go directly to the Red Cross and have them present, if that's okay with the members. Come on up and join us. Select Board, would you like to join us or stay there? Okay. Welcome.
They asked for it. This is what we gave. This is what they asked for.
Please introduce yourselves.
I am Kristen Benow, Regional Disaster Officer for the New Hampshire and Vermont region.
Stephanie Couturier, Regional Chief Development Officer.
All right. The Budget Committee.
Christine?
Juliet. Jane.
Wayne.
John Scanlon. Eric Pyra.
John is also an ex officio member. He's also a member of the Select Board. Select Board is behind you. Please introduce yourselves.
Pat Constantino.
Peter Falk. Okay, ma'am. Your time.
Thank you.
Go for it.
And thank you for inviting us here this evening. Tilton has been a great supporter of the Red Cross for the past few years, and we're hoping that this time we'll consider funding again this year. We have asked for a small increase. Last year, you provided us with $500, and we asked for $750 this year based on the demand for our services throughout the state. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Kristen to just share a little bit with you about the work that we do in New Hampshire.
Well, I thank you. So as I mentioned, I'm Regional Disaster Officer. What that means is that within the state of New Hampshire, we actually focus on the disaster cycle. So you may hear of Red Cross when we respond to Hurricane Sandy, but we do a little bit more than that. In fact, we do a lot more than that. We actually are with families before disasters, during disasters, and for many weeks and months even afterwards. So I really just thought it'd be easiest to kind of take a break of how we break out our services between preparedness programming before the disaster, response, and then our recovery, which pretty much covers the cycle. So on the preparedness side, we actually have a program statewide, which is the Home Fire Preparedness Campaign. Red Cross and Response, and I'll get to that in a moment, we go to a lot of home fires. So anytime there's a home fire throughout the state and we know about it, we get in contact with the fire department, we see if there are additional needs, and go to assist the families. However, on the preparedness side, we're really looking into how we can try and prevent some of the fatalities and injuries due to those home fires. So last year, actually, we launched what's known as the Home Fire Campaign. The main premise of this campaign is to try and lower those injuries and fatalities, really working through installation of smoke detectors in high-risk zip codes and to any family that requires one throughout the state of New Hampshire. So right now, actually, even today, if you go on our website, any person in even the town of Tilton can actually request Red Cross come for a home visit, and we'll actually test any smoking alarms they currently have. We'll also identify if they need additional ones, and we'll install additional ones for free. It's something we started offering last year. We're actually really excited about the campaign because, like I said, we go to those fires at the middle of the night. We know the devastation that occurs. So anything we can do to kind of prevent that from happening beforehand is going to make a big impact on what we can do within the state of New Hampshire. So that's our home fire campaign, and so far we've done about actually we're well over 1,000 alarms installed throughout New Hampshire and Vermont, but we are only looking to try and grow that program. The idea is to have every family in New Hampshire safe from fires. We really make sure that we even put up just the 10-year smoke alarms. Sometimes people don't realize it, but when you have those smoke alarms with the batteries, you might take them out, need them for something else, or they die. So we really have a focus on 10-year batteries as well to make sure that people are safe for a decade. Moving from preparedness then, so that's something we do throughout the state, I'll go into our disaster response. So on average, we help about 300 to 400 families a year between the two states. We actually will go to any fire, like I mentioned, anytime we are called by the fire department. So while thankfully, Tilton did not have a fire last year, a residential fire that we were needed. I think it's one of those things we can all agree is fantastic. If there were one tonight, we'd be there. We reach out to fire departments, sorry.
Just to reference, there were 7 fires within Belknap County that we responded to last year, and we assisted 33 residents within the county that were affected by this fire. So you never know when it's going to be you.
Right.
Or a neighbor, or a loved one.
And in fact, I don't know if you guys heard about the one in Laconia Friday night. We actually ended up helping 4 families even just this weekend in Laconia. So like I said, anytime there is one, we will be there. We ask the fire department immediately on finding out there's a fire going on if we can come to the scene and help. And they kind of either talk with the families that were affected by the fire, or just will say, yes, please come help. Because many a time our fire departments are pretty focused on the fire, the suppression, the life-saving activity, so they'll just ask us to come. We sit down with the families, we kind of identify if they have some immediate needs, if they can return to their house, if they can get some of their clothes, or get their food, anything like that. And if they can't, we actually provide them direct assistance so that they have somewhere to start. In addition to that then, and I said we did about 300 to 400 last year, we also then follow up with these families. So right now we might go to the scene tonight to a fire and give some direct assistance, give them some money so they can go stay in a hotel or get a change of clothes. We also will follow up with them for a couple weeks. So we're talking with them a couple days later to see how they're doing, see if they have additional needs. We're following up with them a week or 2 later to see if there are still some unmet needs that maybe we can identify a community partner and refer them to. We actually work with the families so that we can get them back to what's known as their new normal. Anytime you've been affected by a disaster, your life is never going to be the same, but we really want to get them back to their new normal, what their lives are going to look like after the disaster. And we do that through our case management system and through just disaster recovery planning. So that's kind of a broad overview of how we kind of break down preparedness, response, and recovery. Any questions for me? All right, I'll turn it back over to Stephanie. Oh.
Jane?
Yeah, how many families did you assist in terms of fire alarms in Tilton last year?
So in Tilton, we've not actually assisted any, but we actually would be very interested in doing more in the town of Tilton. Like I said, right now, we actually have available on our site, anybody can go there and request, and we'll get back to you. So we haven't had any requests, but anything we can do to actually advertise the service. It's new as of last year, and I just don't think there's enough information density about it, so anything we can do to kind of get it posted, get it into town newsletters, we want to. Because like I said,
I think
it's
our
about
fire department has done that in the past in Tilton, so you might want to contact them and relieve them of some of their responsibilities.
Can do, and we will. And there are many fire departments that have done it, sometimes intermittently, sometimes it's like based on grant funding from national fire associations and whether they have the funding to do it that month or that year. And then it's based on whether they have the available bodies to do it. So if they have volunteer firefighters were willing to do it, that makes a big impact. The nice thing that we kind of can provide and kind of relieve them of doing is we have a volunteer workforce and we have the alarms. So we've been working with some national partners on getting the alarms, and then we train our volunteers on how to conduct those in-home, not inspections, but essentially review of what they currently have and then install the new detectors. So thank you. We'll reach out to the fire department.
John, can that also go on the town website?
Yeah, you can mention to Tim, send some information over to Tim and...
Because we have our own Town of Tilton website, and it certainly would be something that would be appropriate, I think, to put on that site.
Yeah.
People go,
There's a blurb or something
Yep.
that we could provide to
And a link to it.
someone. John, would that be you?
Would be Tim Pearson, so finance at Tilton...
Finance at Tilton, okay. We can go ahead and
Yeah.
set up
That would be
TiltonMH.org.
fantastic.
Yeah.
explaining the program and who to contact and things like that.
good. Christine, question, comments?
It looks like you trained 10 Tilton residents in first aid and CPR, were they in groups, or was this individual, or?
That's a good question. Likely, it was probably one class
Okay.
offered in Tilton. We also had 33 blood drives, so those are in
We see
addition
those,
to-
yeah.
But likely there's probably one class of group of 10.
Where would they do it, in a nursing home or a school, or do you know where it was?
I'm
Yeah.
not exactly sure where it was, but I can find that information out for
Okay.
you.
I know at one time you did it at the Pines. I don't know whether that's still the case, but
So in addition, I was just going to mention, those are great questions, and so in addition to our disaster cycle, we also are in the communities providing health and safety training so that...
Yeah, we were going to get around to that. I'll get them through the preparedness, then you can have the educational piece. Jules?
I just, we get asking, they're asking for an increase. Could I, why is there an increase? Is there, can
So
you
the
give us some?
increase is just, again, based on the demand for the services and the new home fire campaign and the outreach across the state. Our expenses have increased, so we need to thus transition to our revenue as well. And all of the donations and funds that we raise here in New Hampshire stays in New Hampshire. So that's a little bit of background.
Jules, anything else?
No, just wondering, so it's the expenses that went up, it was specifically the new program, the fire alarm checking program. Is it also the first aid the training? Or is it just that program, or what exactly?
So really,
Just curious. What?
are you looking at the specific budget in general or not?
Well, like, this increase is due to what increase on your,
The expense
in a nutshell?
Yeah, it wouldn't be the health and safety side, it's really the disaster cycle, so the demand for our financial assistance following home fires, our mass care line, which is really the financial assistance line, increased, and then the support of the program itself.
Okay, so but we didn't have any fires, so it's more Belknap County?
Correct, so it's
Is
a
the
ratio
problem- Okay,
based on our
okay, just wondering how that
town by
gets,
town.
okay,
Those are really.
All set, Jules?
I'm all set then.
Jane?
Thank you.
no, I have questions when we get to your part, I
Yeah,
think.
we'll scoot around to that one in a second. John, anything on preparedness or disaster? What a great combination.
Just some financial questions. I don't know if you want to get them at the end, or,
Oh, come at the end, yes.
okay.
Eric, go ahead.
Let's see. And that's it.
Eric. Really confused you, didn't
Yeah,
I?
I'm just on their website. What's the difference between CERT, CERT, and what you guys do? Because the fire you mentioned, when I read the article, I didn't see any mention of the Red Cross, but the CERT was mentioned, so I don't know what's the difference.
So CERT are actually localized programs. It's Community Emergency Response Teams, for anybody that isn't aware of them. It's part of actually the National Citizen Corps program, which is, I believe historically has been government-funded programming. They also will generally identify sometimes their own grants as well to support it. But Red Cross is actually a national nonprofit organization. And we do some similar work. So CERT doesn't usually respond to fires and assist families with, say, case management, but they may help out in sheltering. And in fact, Red Cross usually are the trainers of sheltering for CERT. So if you were around during Sandy or Irene and there were any local shelters open, whether they were managed by Red Cross or managed by the CERT team, it was usually done with Red Cross training in advance and perhaps Red Cross supplies. So we do coordinate a lot, but they're very different in terms of CERT is very locally kind of managed, maybe one town, maybe a couple towns. Red Cross is a nationwide program, so we can essentially bring resources in from anywhere in the country. And we're actually seeing this in South Carolina. So right now there's a South Carolina Red Cross. There may be specific to some of those towns, South Carolina CERT teams to those towns, but Red Cross, we can actually pool resources into South Carolina because we're a national organization and we all function as one, versus CERT teams will be more town-focused. Does that help?
Yep. How do we get more classes here? I come from I used to work in an area that was a heart-safe community, and I don't know if the Red Cross or that maybe American Heart Association designation, but we were very involved, the town was, because of, the remote part, it was in the White Mountains, but, there was a big push to get AEDs there, CPR classes. I know that they do every Monday, or not every Monday night, but second Monday of the night, they do CPR classes there, but yet, I went earlier this year because my certification lapsed, and I went looking and it was all in Concord. Everything's in Concord, but,
And I think Stephanie's going to address that in just a minute.
Okay.
I can address it.
Okay, go ahead.
Now, actually,
Yeah.
I think
Well, I just want to get to these folks behind you. For disaster preparedness, Pat? Catherine?
The CERT program here is not town-focused, it's county-focused.
Okay.
It's part of, and I'm sitting here trying to remember Susan Laverick's organization.
Public Health Network.
Yes, thank
Yep.
you. It's part of her organization. And the last meeting I went to, when they were talking about funding CERT, there wasn't a lot of federal funding for this organization. They raise it.
Right, so
themselves.
I think historically it was, and I do agree with you, where I think now a lot of them have moved on to grants because
That's right.
it's,
And they respond to any emergency. This particular one, because it's mostly Belknap County, they respond to any emergency.
Peter? You're good. Did we not do that, did we have the Red Cross when during the winter when the electricity went out for most of the town, and they opened up the high school
No,
as a shelter?
that was us locally.
That was locally only? Mm-hmm. Okay. Would that be something that could be incorporated into the Red Cross? Because we're looking at electricity loss for up to 24 hours or whatever it was. And we opened up the high school or middle school?
The high school.
We open up as a shelter.
Okay, good.
Kristen, do you want to share a little bit about how shelters are, Red Cross shelters
Yeah.
are
And that's where
open?
CERT comes in. And Susan Laverick's program.
so, and you're absolutely correct that I think it's county focused. So the CERT teams, it depends on where they're at within the state. Some are county focused and some are more town focused, like say Goffstown CERT is for Goffstown, but thank you for correcting me on that, because you are absolutely correct. So as Red Cross, we try to train all of the organizations that may respond pre-event on sheltering, primarily because we've, over the course of several decades, done sheltering so frequently that we've become national experts on it. So we'll train anyone and everyone. In actual events, when we have especially those statewide events, what we do is we work with the towns and the state emergency operations center, and we actually work to identify where's the biggest impact and where should we make those regional shelters be located. That way, even if we don't open one and say in every town, because there's only one person in every shelter, we can open one in a town that has maybe 6 surrounding towns where they can send people to that open shelter to kind of focus our resources in. It just allows us to not try and get cots, volunteers, food together for every single town in the state. It allows us to kind of focus those resources in a bit more. But you're right, as well as that, CERTs will also open sometimes local or perhaps county-based shelters
Yeah,
as well.
We do trainings, I think quarterly.
Yep. Yeah.
Catherine, anything else? I have to keep you awake over there. Stephanie, the floor is yours.
Okay, to answer your question in regards to trainings and how to get them, there has been some national challenges in terms of really getting the community classes back in the communities because of a lack of instructors. So that's where you're seeing the majority of the offerings at the Concord headquarters. But what I can do is go back and find more information on if there were a great enough demand, if you have a concentrated group of individuals who would be interested, say, minimum of 10 individuals, we can try to go ahead and come into the community and host those trainings locally here in Tilton. With this, so I guess I'm writing down things to follow up on. So our blurb about our home fire campaign offering, some information on where last year's 10 students, where that training was held, and then information on this. Would this all go to the finance email address, or should I direct answers to?
You could give them to her.
No, Board of Selectmen at tilton@h.org.
Yeah. Or Joanna can also. Either or Joanna, she can do that. We'll give you all these wonderful email sites you can play with. Keeps us busy during the day.
Sewer at
Keeps us out of trouble.
.org.
No, it doesn't.
Sewer, S-E-W-E-R.
Okay. I'll just send it to everybody, and then you guys can decide where to
It's a
distribute
town.
information from there.
We have mail, we love it.
I just wanted to give all of you folks a sense of the organization's footprint in New Hampshire. So we have 26 full-time staff between New Hampshire and Vermont. Our New Hampshire headquarters is in Concord, and we have over 700 volunteers in New Hampshire alone that carry out our mission work each and every day. So we truly are a volunteer-led organization in that there are boots on the ground. They're amazing individuals. I think you mentioned that we do have at least one volunteer right here in your community who responds to fire calls and who also has deployed before.
Has deployed, has been a regional disaster assessment lead for us in the past. So we actually have a leadership volunteer here in Tilton.
So,
Could you talk a little bit about the LNA program?
I can talk a little bit about.
That's all I want is a little bit.
Yep. So we, on an annual basis, we train, I want to say it's just under 500 students throughout New Hampshire in a licensed nurse assistant training. So these courses are anywhere between 8 and 12 weeks long. The students go through a clinical period where they have hands-on training, and then upon graduation, we also work and kind of handhold them through the process of being hired as LNAs. We have job fairs where we encourage employers throughout the state to come and meet these individuals who have just gone through our Red Cross training program. So it's a very important program in the state. Licensed nurse assistant is a demand and a need in the state, so that training is very popular, and we're pumping out students pretty much on a bi-monthly basis.
It's my understanding that we did have some from Tilton
Yes.
that have graduated.
Yes, we also.
And you do offer a scholarship program?
We do. So we offer a few. So we partner with New Hampshire Charitable Foundation. They offer several scholarships on an annual basis. We also have some grant funding through the Financial Foundation and also Walmart Foundation. So those three major partners of ours help assist and offset the tuition fees for a lot of our students, which makes this training possible for folks who may not have the resources to gain these programs.
Do you see that program expanding?
There's, like I said, the demand is increasing, so, and year over year, the number of students going through the program has increased, so.
Great.
We also offer phlebotomy training as well, which kind of is a pipeline for our blood services and our blood donation
Yes.
program, but that's another training program.
The only reason I say that is I'm a heart patient, and I've seen too many phlebotomists in my life.
Hopefully most of them are good ones.
They're very good. Just after a while, they just look at them and say, the vampires are coming. And then they come, right, Jane? And they have more blood of mine than I have anymore. Anything else you'd like to say?
I think those are my key points. Kristen mentioned that all of our services are offered free to clients in terms of disaster. Our trainings and certifications are all fee-for-service programs, but the work that we do in disaster and recovery and all of that is free to clients. We don't base it on financial status or socioeconomic status. It's all kind of we go in very neutral and impartial,
Right.
and if the need is there, we provide it.
Now comes the fun part.
Yes.
Peter, questions or comments? Catherine? Pat?
I have a
Yep.
question on financial.
Yep.
I'll preface it by saying, I don't know whether Tilton has been unfortunate or it's been an honor to see you in action in the last 7 years. I know that there have been three huge fires that have left folks homeless, and to see you from start to finish in action is phenomenal. Having said that, I'm looking at the agency budget, and I don't quite understand it because your 2015 revenue and expenses are $485,883. Your fiscal year 15 budget was $3,179,000. And you're expecting, your draft budget for the 16 is $2,969,000. So you're going down a lot.
So one point of reference, the 485,000 is actually our year-to-date budget through August. So those were the months of July and August revenue and expenses. The overall total budget, the 3.17 and the 2.9. So we recently merged with with Vermont, and through that merger, we have streamlined some back office procedures, and we have slimmed down our staff quite a bit. We have 26 full-time staff across both states, so that was impacted a bit in the budget. I also want to note the line item products and services, which is a fair chunk of the overall budget at 1.3 in FY15, and again about 1.3 in FY16. Those are all of our fee-for-services. So our health and safety services, our LNA, that's what makes up that line, and really anything above the monetary contributions, income and investment, and all of that makes up the revenue generated from our disaster relief work and our day-to-day work and fundraising. Does that help?
Pat, further questions or comments?
I'll say thanks.
Eric? John, there you go, sir.
I guess, so you go by a fiscal year?
Yes.
Then, so that's why the number would be so low?
For July and
15?
August.
Yeah,
Yes.
because you only have actually,
Yes.
2 months out of, so it's kind of,
Yeah.
it's like, where's the money going?
We're
Do you-
way behind.
Do you have, like, the 14 budget, or is that,
I don't have it handy.
I don't know if you could send that over, because,
Sure.
well,
And I
I
will
suppose it-
say, I can probably almost guarantee that it will be less than this because it was when we were just New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Now that we've combined with Vermont, that's where we saw the increase in FY 15 and 16. So, but I can go ahead and provide FY 14 numbers. So you're looking at both revenue and expenses?
yeah, for 14, so we can see one complete year, what a full year looks like on that type of breakdown. Next thing, how are the requests for money determined? Where do you come up with like the 500 or the 750, and how's that work?
Okay, that's a great question. Typically, the number is derived from, we use the figure 45 cents per capita. And whereas Tilton has been a generous supporter at the $500 level, which I believe is below the 45 cents per capita, we looked at an increase of $250 year over year, again, based on the demand and the ratio of the services that we provide to the population here in Tilton.
And fundraising efforts, what type of fundraising efforts are done besides just going to the towns?
There's
Yeah.
nothing here. It's just a general question, right?
Yes.
Here in Tilton?
Just across the state?
So,
That money that you would get from, fundraising events as opposed to going to towns, because actually when we give you money, your money comes through taxation. So we have to
Right.
tax people to give you money.
Right.
It would be nice to have volunteers.
So I would say of our overall fundraising budget for this year is 1.6 million between the two states. And of that, about 8% comes from, 8% comes from town funding in the two states. The remainder, the 92%, comes from contributions from foundations, from corporate partners, from individuals in the states. We also have 3 major events between the two states that bring in some net revenue for the organization as well. So it's a mix. And then we receive designated United Way funds, not from United Way, but donor-designated dollars through the United Way. There are a variety of different other means that we receive funding.
One thing, how much of the funds, total funds through the towns and your fundraising actually leave the states of Vermont, New Hampshire, and go kick back to the federals?
I was talking to Kristen about that today. Every dollar raised in New Hampshire stays in New Hampshire. We do not receive any federal funding from the government. And right now, New Hampshire and Vermont are borrowing states from other regions within the Red Cross. So our programs and services and our overall expenses actually outweigh the revenue that we generate. So we do borrow from other areas of the Red Cross. So that's what's good about being a part of a large organization. But ideally, we need to be self-sufficient here in the region to support the demands.
So we're like a receiver as
Yes.
opposed to a donor
Right.
state?
Yes,
And the same will be when we're now joined with Vermont?
correct.
And the other thing is, how much do the CPR and like the babysitting classes cost?
That's a good question. I don't have the number off the top of my head, and I know that it varies. I believe, you know what, I'm not even gonna say, but I can
Just you can send
send
it.
you that information.
Yeah, I heard it was like $45 or something. or-
That sounds about
Some, like the
right.
research, it usually costs more the first time you take
Yep.
it, and then the researts are
You want to send us the data, that'd be great. You don't have to guess.
Pediatric first aid.
The LNA.
That gets everybody in trouble.
Yeah,
No, the
actually,
LNA classes are more, the LNA, I believe they're at $12.50.
Yes, yeah, they're about
yeah,
that.
It's like a 6.
the CPA is 110.
Yeah.
Okay.
For adult pediatric first aid, CPR AED is 110.
That goes to
But there's another one that's a 90, so I don't know what the difference is, but
It might be an online, so we offer online trainings as well.
it says online in classroom.
Yeah, or in classroom?
Yeah.
Good. John, anything else?
One's at night, one's in the day.
That's all I
Thank you,
had for
John.
right now, yeah.
Those are good.
Jane?
Yep, I'm not sure how exactly I want to phrase this, because I've seen you in action when it's come to fires, and you've been there almost as quickly as the fire department in some cases. But I guess we're a small town, we have a limited amount of funds to give, and I know that we're paying just in case in a lot of situations that you will be there. But there are other things that you do that we don't know how to get in touch with you when we have the needs for the services. We had CPR training, and again, our fire department gave that to us at the senior center because we had a need. I don't know who we would have reached out to in the Red Cross to come and provide that kind of training. Would you have done that?
We definitely would, so that goes back to being able to offer the community classes right here in Tilton.
But would we have called you to do that? And would you have responded?
Yes.
Okay. Then again, we had a power failure, and we opened the school for a center. And we had selectmen, who happens to be a chef, a selectman, who offered to provide food. How can we reach you when those situations happen, so that if we're paying something for services, how can we benefit from that?
I'm going to lean to Kristen for
So
that one.
for mass outages, where's the town emergency operations center?
Police department.
Police Department. So the Town Emergency Management Director works out of the Emergency Operations Center and is in communication with the State Emergency Operations Center. When you guys are looking at opening a shelter, or when there's a need related to a disaster, if they're communicating in a statewide event with the state, we actually sit right in the State Emergency Operations Center with the Department of Health and Human Services,
Okay.
collecting information about the towns and figuring out how to best serve all of the towns around the state, be it through maybe you guys just need some food, so we're either going to bring you some food or get some donated to you. If it's cots or something like that, we'll figure out how we can get you cots. If we can't get it, we'll see how the next town over could maybe bring over some cots. Or if it's staff support, it's all in correlation with how we can best utilize resources, but your emergency management director of the town could reach up to the state, or they can contact us directly. So we actually have disaster program managers broken out, one for the Lakes region and the northern part of the state, and one for the southern part of the state, and he can actually connect with them directly as well.
Okay.
Can I ask, was that unique to Tilton, or was it during a larger storm?
I think it was unique to Tilton.
Okay, so
Tilton and Samberton.
Thanksgiving?
It covered
Yeah.
a couple of
okay, yep.
towns, but
Yeah.
it didn't, it covered Northfield, some of
Right.
Northfield, Franklin, and Samberton, but a
Right.
small portion of
But the communication goes to the emergency communications director. Is that chief? The chief will then make the call
Right.
from there. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Jane, anything further?
No, that's it.
Jules.
Thank you.
thank you.
I am all set.
Christine, you finally get to be the end person this
I was
time.
first last time.
That's right. Make it fair.
The reason I asked about the CPR classes, when somebody graduates as an LNA, they're not CPR certified, are they? Yeah, and I find that a lot of LNAs work their tails off, and they don't have time to go get CPR once they're an LNA, and it should be part of their graduation.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the nursing homes that they work for offer that.
Don't even have time. They plan them, and they just don't have enough LNAs, enough time. If they're certified before they start, it's much better.
And I will echo that because I was in a hospital that will remain nameless in the area, where I saw the LNA more than I saw the RN. And if there was a crisis, it was the LNA that was doing it, and this was an ICU. So if you need someone to be able to do CPR, or the AEG, or whatever, the crash cart, which is a fun thing, you would think that the LNA would be trained to do that, so point well taken. Further questions?
Nope, that'll be it.
Congratulations, you survived. You barely survived. You did good.
We appreciate the time and thought and.
Any questions of us?
All right, so I just had
Yeah.
one, just because, just I'm interested, because we've talked about the Thanksgiving. How many shelter clients were at the Thanksgiving storm shelter? How many?
under 6, and they were elderly because we have a senior housing.
Gotcha.
And it was in the winter, so there was no heat, no electricity, no heat, so it was set up for that. They opened the kitchen because the electricity was out for more than 12 hours, so.
Gotcha. Did it end up having to be an overnight, or was it lucky enough that it, okay.
Lucky enough they found where the break was.
Yeah.
But we may have had more people in that situation had they known about it.
Right.
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 It was a communication, it was definitely communication with the management of the building, and we went door to door, trying to get people to come to the shelters, but it was a very difficult process to begin with.
Snowstorms are very difficult, primarily because they affect the entire state, but also it's very easy to say we want to open a shelter and everybody's going to come to it, but case in point, New Englanders don't always like to leave their homes, and also sometimes the roads also. So you can't just open a shelter and just assume everybody's going to come. You then have to send police cars out to go pick them up, and really, it's got to be like four-wheel drive police cars. So it is one of those things with the 12-hour events, or like the ice storm of 08, it's really figuring out what is the good time frame to open the shelter, that people are going to be able to get to it, and still need it before the power gets turned back on, versus putting people in harm's way because they're trying to drive to a shelter and wreck along the way.
John?
That's interesting, because a proper question that I have is,
Yeah.
we talk about home fire preparedness and that. one of the things, and I was with Pat and a couple other selectmen, we went around to all the seniors and knocked on their doors, and many of them were sitting in the dark with basically nothing, just sitting in the chair for hours in the dark. And, you know, when it comes to emergency preparedness, is there anything that the Red Cross could do to help, you know, like some of the areas where we have senior housing, to make sure that they are, or, you know, what we should do to make sure that they're ready, that they have proper flashlights, or they know who to call? People don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We actually, we have preparedness presentations, and we actually have education materials specifically for seniors. It's education materials on disaster preparedness. It tells you exactly how to make a plan to evacuate your home, making sure you have at least a family member in the area and outside of the area to contact to make sure that they know you're okay. It talks about what to put in your emergency kit, like flashlights. We do actually have presentations like that, so I would say if you want to get in contact with the chief as emergency management director to kind of put something together, we'd love to, because you're right. Those are really high-risk areas, and we want to make sure out of everybody that they are prepared. So I think that'd be excellent. Thank you.
They have a tendency to just want to sit there and everything's going to be fine.
Yeah. And, well, I mean, we've all seen those snowstorms where at the end of it, statewide, we have at least one fatality because somebody didn't leave their home or tried to go out and shovel their driveway to get to their car, and it was too cold and too much snow. So, yeah.
Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you for coming. That's all right.
Yeah.
Folks are right behind you, and we always take people first. So come on in.
Have a great night.
You too.
Have a good week, folks. Thank you.
Hey, you're welcome. People from New Beginnings, you're free to come on up. You can arrange the chairs any way you want. Yeah, Ivy, come on up. Yeah, come on up.
Good.
We don't bite.
Down, right?
I'm too old to bite people. I can't bite
I'll
people,
tell you
right,
about it
Jane?
later.
Jane, he doesn't bite,
All right, I
right?
can't bite them.
I know he just said it.
Come on in.
Before we start, the two of us are actually on call, so we do have, I know it's rude, we do have our cell phones with us. I'm
No
sorry in
problem.
advance.
And if it happens, it happens. We smile. Okay? Okay. This is the Tilton Budget Committee and Select Board. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
I'm Cindy Valent, I'm the treasurer.
Shauna Burtwell, I'm the Family Violence Prevention Specialist.
Excellent.
I'm Christine.
Juliet Harvey.
Jane?
Wayne Brock.
John Scanlon.
Eric Pyra?
John is also a member of the Select Board, and he's the ex officio member of the Budget Committee. Behind you, at the end,
Pat Constantino, Selectman.
Catherine Nelson.
and we've kept Catherine awake, so you're in good shape. This is not bad. Okay? Peter, I was leaving you alone. She's more fun to poke. Okay? The floor is yours.
Okay, we've been here several years. I think everybody has our packet. We're a domestic violence, sexual assault crisis center, where we do not charge for services. Everything is funded through grants, towns, and donations. We go into the schools, do education with children. We have on-site shelter, emergency shelter for women in need. If a man happens to be in crisis, we'll put them up in a hotel room if they're in immediate danger. Our focus is prevention, education, and getting people back on their feet.
Super. Would you like to add?
Sure. So there has been a recent focus, probably in the last year or so, we've been much more proactive about it, about reaching some of our outlying communities. So of course, Tilton is included in that. So on top of the services that we offer on site at our office in Laconia, we recognize that transportation is a tremendous barrier for folks in this county. So we will drive out and meet with people at a safe and neutral location. We don't go to homes in which the batterer still resides, but we'll meet at the town hall is a good example. Members of local faith communities that are willing to loan us a room, just any free and quiet space that we can use to meet with someone where they're also comfortable. So we try to start where folks are at rather than putting more barriers in their way. And we serve just over 700 individuals each year.
You really embarrassed her already.
So I guess to add to that, not only do we provide shelter, emergency services for individuals, but also their children, so we try to keep families together. We also have services like the family pension specialist.
Okay, yeah, so in the state of New Hampshire, 56% of child abuse cases also have co-occurring domestic violence. So a big portion of my role is working closely with the state and with DCYF on those cases. So we have a mandated referral program through them that connects me specifically with families, both to follow them throughout their case with the state, but also to connect them back to the crisis center and to keep the families safe and happy and healthy so they can move forward.
And we're constantly trying to adapt and be flexible with the communities that we serve. For example, like we all know about the rise in homeless use in the state of New Hampshire. So we are working towards becoming more knowledgeable, reaching out to health centers and health professionals, and get our staff and volunteers up to date on how we can better serve communities that are also victims, survivors that are also struggling with drug addiction or recovery.
Good job. Mike, thank you for your patience. We're running over, which is not unusual for me. I take full blame, as I usually do, because I'm old enough not to go for it. All right. Peter, any questions or comments? Let's see, I got you this time. Catherine.
Yeah, I have a question. My understanding is that you haven't been sheltering Tilton residents because of proximity and location.
I would be interested to hear more about that because that's definitely not the case at all. So our shelter is a disclosed site, meaning that even though people who stay with us, their identity is kept confidential, our site is disclosed to the community. And we've been that way since our inception, and the reason for that is that, first of all, we don't think it's realistic in a small community to keep something secret. We also feel that survivors shouldn't have to live in fear and hiding. Their children should not be brought up having to lie about where they go to school and where they live, and also that the community, so all of us, have to play a role in the movement to end violence against women and violence against anyone, really. So sometimes that does pose a safety risk if the batterer say lives in Tilton and works in the technology park in Laconia. They'd be driving past our site twice a day. So that might not be safe for someone, and that's something that we work out with the individual when they're calling and asking for shelter. You know, we make a plan, we get a feel from them whether or not they think it would be a safe option for them. If it's not, we put them up in a hotel and work with them nonstop to find a safe location that's still going to be pleasing to them, whether it's at the Plymouth or the Concord shelter, at a local homeless shelter, helping them travel to get to family and friends. You know, we've paid for plane tickets, train tickets, bus tickets, hotel stays, and the goal is really, if there is a safety barrier, what's the next best option and how can we make that happen for them? But I would love, if you know of a specific case, I'd love to hear more about it because I'm not familiar with us declining any requests from Tilton.
I wish I could. They're confidential cases.
Okay.
Do you need to answer your phone?
Nope, it's not mine.
Okay, I thought I heard one. Was that you?
No, those are the tires out front.
Oh, social workers, we
Thank
hear
you, though,
things.
very vigilant.
Yeah.
I have no questions.
This is so quiet, it's amazing. Okay, Eric, I have faith in you, sir.
No, not yet.
Oh, yeah, no, this is good. He's the finance guy. John?
Well, I guess some of the same questions, some basic questions I always ask. What other types of fundraising do you do besides the towns?
We've recently been expanding that, and that is part of Aileen's role, is to build our capacity as an organization. We have a grants program that we've just increased the volume of this fiscal year, and that includes 72 proposals, beginning from July of this year until June of next year. So Aileen, myself, and our executive director, along with the support of our board, will be submitting those. So we're hoping for some new funding streams in that way. We also have a series of small events that we plan every year, but we're working with our board to plan a couple of larger events. And we did have a gala fundraiser in 2012 that was quite successful and a great awareness raiser as well. So we're hoping to duplicate something like that. We have an annual appeal that goes out around the holidays every year. Beyond that, we have some very committed and fabulous friends of the agency who donate quite regularly. The towns are a huge source of support for us.
Carnations.
Carnations, thank you, Cindy. We have our annual Mother's Day Carnation fundraiser, so that's held each year in May. Trying to think of anything else. Oh, we also do designations through the United Way as well, so even though they don't fund us, employees can choose us as an option and donate a portion of their paycheck. We also have, and I think this speaks to the passion we have for the organization, quite a few staff choose to make designations through their paychecks as well.
So just to follow up on the events, I'm trying to expand the events. So we are looking to do larger ones like the gala that we had in 2012. And so this past weekend or a weekend or two ago, we had an interfaith breakfast, and a Praise Assembly of God from Tilton was present there. So we're sort of trying to expand our network with different niches of like the communities within the town.
I hate to do this to you, but...
And so that way we have more volunteers, we can fundraise a little bit better, and that we can just expand our network of people that we can help and support and vice versa.
So is there like a percentage that you get from the towns and a percentage that you've raised?
Yeah.
2% of our budget comes from
Okay.
Pat, did you have a question or a comment you wanted to make?
About fundraising?
Yeah.
No, not the fundraising, no.
Okay.
And just one more. So, and how do you determine the amount to each town that you charge, or that you ask for?
It's roughly based on usage, how many people we serve, how many schools we go to.
So, you know, I guess, like, how much would, like, Belmont pay compared? Is that the same?
No.
Here, it's in the handout.
Are they in there? I apologize, because I could have done my homework better.
Meredith is 1,800, so Tilton is right around that, the same.
Okay.
15, page 2.
I can do my homework a little better. Sorry.
No problem. All set, John?
Okay. Yes, I'm okay.
Eric? Would you like me to come back?
I don't know if it's an appropriate question, but say, how do we compare to services rendered, just say, I'm just looking at, Town of Alton has the same amount as us. How many people there do you serve? And I wouldn't count this, I'm talking about more about individuals versus the school.
Folks for direct service.
Yeah.
It's similar. I think we're right around 30 for Alton as well. I don't
Okay.
have that paperwork with me, but I'd also be happy to double-check that number and get it to you tomorrow.
Okay.
And the numbers, I should mention also, the numbers that we have of individuals served from each town is often higher. We don't require that people disclose any information they're not comfortable with, so sometimes we do have to list towns as unknown. So what we gave you is just documented cases that we know are coming from Tilton.
Eric, can I break in for just a minute, Pat?
I didn't see a listing of how many people you served from Tilton.
It'll be on the front page.
It's on the front page.
It'll be under request for appropriation.
27 individuals.
27 individuals, 3 schools, and approximately 250 students, and there's 7 businesses.
7 businesses.
So 27 people, does that include school or no?
No,
No.
that's direct service.
And how many of them are family?
That I would have to look up and pull details from you. The majority of people we serve, though, would fall under family rather than individual. So probably in the 15 to 20 range would be women with children. But I can get an exact number on that as well.
Okay. Eric? All set?
So if you say, let's just say, if you said there was, let's just say 1 woman to 2 children, so that would be 3. So if you say 20, it could be potentially 60 people that you've assisted in the town too.
Yes,
Okay.
that are documented.
Okay.
Further questions, Eric?
What would the value of those services be to the,
That's hard to...
Yeah, it really depends on what they require. Did they shelter them?
Could you speak up, please?
I'm sorry, sure. It really depends on the services that each individual is unique, their needs are unique. If we shelter them, then certainly their rate is going to be much higher than somebody who we just do a crisis call with.
Or court response
Yeah.
might take, 2 hours of prep work plus a 2-hour hearing. Work at DCYF is quite cumbersome and might follow the individual for over a year. And that's something that we don't include as well. We frequently work with someone more than once, and that's always our goal, is to get folks engaged with us so that they can get more than just that crisis response, because that's so traumatic, the effects often won't stick. So we're hoping to do long-term goal planning, financial stability, helping them to find housing moving forward, helping them through the life of their court case, the life of their DCYF case, getting them involved in parenting classes, and so on and so forth.
Thank you.
Eric, anything else? Jane?
You answered my question. I was going to ask if you took it from start to finish. Did you go to court case and follow through after that?
Yep, so of those, and it's always up to the person. We try, and we work off of the empowerment model, so it's 100% up to them whether or not we work with them and at what level. But we do always ask for permission to get their phone number from them, so that we can follow up in a couple of days. And of those 700 individuals, we provided them with over 2,100 services. So that, again, could be anything from material goods. We keep donations on site of clothing, diapers, wipes, hygiene products, household goods for when people move, the sheltering, the court case, that's the restraining order, divorce, parenting, and custody processes. We connect folks with legal assistance through a pro bono program for domestic violence victims, support groups for children, teens, and adults, one-to-one peer support that can be as frequently as, every day through the initial crisis, and then once a week moving forward. Hospital advocacy, that's for sexual assault cases, domestic violence, human trafficking. Anytime someone reports feeling unsafe or the hospital has a suspicion, they call us, we respond 24/7, and that's to both Lakes and Franklin, so wherever Tilton folks are reporting to. We also serve both the Laconia Court and the Franklin Court, so that hits the Tilton community as well. The school presentations. We will do child advocacy, working one-on-one for kiddos who have witnessed domestic violence, and we accompany folks through the life of the forensic interview process with the Child Advocacy Center as well. So unfortunately, a lot of the cases that we work on hit multiple areas. So we might first get a referral through the police department, and then we see them at the hospital, and then we follow up regarding their DCYF case. So the advocacy becomes quite involved, and we're available 24/7, and that's all by volunteer and paid staff who take those on-call shifts.
Jane, further questions?
Do you maintain a safe house in this area?
We do, so that's the shelter at Laconia.
Okay.
And then again, if the disclosed site is something that the individual feels is not a safe option for them, we find them another housing option. There's a crisis center in every county in the state, so really anywhere they'd like to go. We've also partnered nationwide to get someone where they want to be. And the McKinney-Vento Act allows for children to stay in their school district while they're in a shelter. The school's responsible for transporting. So even if they leave our area, they can remain in the Tilton schools if that's what they would like to do.
Further questions, Jane? Jules?
I just have one question about the 250 students, and if you could just give me a little bit of information about what that entails when you say that you service the schools. Is it just a program that you...
So we have, first of all, we are on call to all of the schools countywide, including the community college. So anytime a student is unsafe or goes to guidance and guidance would like some more support, we can respond to the schools. But the 250 students would be included in our prevention education programming. And that is for all levels of schooling, K through 12, with age-appropriate programming based on the audience. So for the younger kids, it's a program called We Can Work It Out that focuses on nonviolent conflict resolution and identifying feelings. And then moving all the way up through 9th through 12th grade touches a bit more directly on teen dating violence and healthy relationships. So trying to break the cycle before it even starts and helping young women especially to see what a relationship should look like so that they're not getting into a situation where there's some power and control. And another good thing about it is that it gives them a name and a face to the agency so they know where to go to for help if something's not right at home, or if they have been in a relationship that is potentially unsafe, they know who to go to. And we also do girls support groups at all of the schools that we do the prevention education programming in.
So in this school district, you have a girls' support group, or?
At Winnisquam.
At the high school? Mm-hmm. Oh. That's good, I didn't know that. Okay.
All set, Jules?
All set.
Christine?
To add to the prevention education, do you just do the awareness like a class once a school year, or do you have a schedule?
We do have a schedule, and it depends on requests from the school and from the teachers. So every district has been a little bit different in how much time they're willing and able to give to us. I know with the health classes, it's often a week's worth of programming, so they'll see the students 5 times. I can't speak exactly to what was done in Tilton, but that's, again, something that I can get more information from our educator on and get back to you.
Now, if you haven't heard from a school, maybe they don't have time, would you proactively contact them?
Yes, that's part of her role every spring and a little bit throughout the summer, but mainly in the spring while teachers are starting to get ready for the following school year. We try to get in and get scheduled right away.
And I wanted to know, do you help these people long term, or is it, once they're past a certain stage? Because I know some people who, even years later, they still get depressed or...
Absolutely. So that is certainly part of our goal. And again, it's up to the individual. But we do have people who, maybe they never worked with us, maybe they didn't live in this area, or just felt unsafe coming to us or felt too much shame, whatever the reason, but they come to us years later because there's that residual trauma and they want some help overcoming it. So we'll connect them with resources. Maybe they'll attend a support group, and people often find tremendous strength in that. But our goal when we're first starting to work with folks is to get them so comfortable with us that they will continue to work with us outside of the initial crisis, and that they'll maintain a relationship, because I think that that is most beneficial long term.
Now, do you have on-site licensed counselors?
We do not, so we partner closely with Genesis and other local mental health providers for that. So what we offer is peer counseling based on our knowledge of the dynamics of domestic and sexual violence and the effects of trauma and the effects on children. But for the mental health piece, we refer out.
Okay. Just quick.
Yep.
Do you don't happen to have the name of the girls group at the high school, do you?
I don't, but I can find out for you.
If you could, I'm just interested in it.
I think in the past it's been called Girls Circle or something similar to that, but I can find out exactly what we had last year.
Okay. And I was interested in the piece about going into like the health class and teaching about, like, with teens controlling behaviors with the phones, and how sometimes their teens seem to be smothering other teens and almost stalking them. It seems to be a little bit of an epidemic. And also just, I don't know if that's just kind of a stretch, but too much phone use in general with, seems to be tied to some of the depression and whatnot. So, I guess you have you gone into the health classes?
Yes.
And are you doing that now? At the high school or middle school?
Yes, so
Okay.
I don't know if they're doing it at the middle school level, but at the high school level, the use of technology to stalk, and we use more gentle terms for teens so that they feel that they can identify
They
with
say
it more.
stalk all the time anyway.
So the use of technology to stalk and social media and its impact, and especially I know like issues of revenge porn are really big right now, so educating about sexting and those sorts of behaviors, as well as the jealousy, needing to know your passwords, constant texting, always needing, like, we don't touch on excessive phone use, but we do touch on, how often is this person contacting you, and is that really what love looks like because he texts you 50 times a day? Like that, that's probably not the healthiest piece.
Very important, yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know the curriculum in depth, but I know that every year with the updating of technology and the ever-changing teen culture, that we update our own materials as well.
Oh, good, very good, thanks.
I have actually not spoken, I'll get right back to you for a second. I actually am an old social worker. I was around when your program was incepted. Believe me, I'm old. Okay?
I am too, because I was around then too.
Okay, so we are older than you were ever born. Okay, it's scary, isn't it, Catherine? Yeah. Okay, so your program has come a long way. It's done a good job. That's why I've not asked a lot of questions, because I know where you're coming from. I dealt with the other end. I spent 25 years in prison, dealing with all the folks that were the perpetrators. And they had better programming inside than we had in the community. So, be aware that we're there. We know that it's a good program and we'll take care of it. And John, I will not be for both.
Just want to clarify that, working in prison.
Yeah, I know.
You were on public TV.
There were many days,
Think he just
people
got out.
thought that I was there. Believe me, I thought I was there lots of times.
Yeah. I'm looking at the financial budget here, and it says, did not budget, but has the 22, is that an error?
Is that for?
Move that microphone.
Bad microphone.
Oh, the town of Guilford is a little bit different. They ask us to go on their warrant every year, so we have to go out and solicit signatures.
There we go. You didn't do anything wrong with
Yeah, that's okay.
bless the machines.
To receive funding. So they don't budget, but we get in under a warrant article.
Oh, okay, so they didn't budget it, but you actually showed up at the town meeting and
With
did
our
it.
signatures.
How was that?
200 signatures. How is it?
Did it work for you?
Yeah, it's
So
been,
that's great to see the
4 or
community.
5 years since that we've had to do that.
How about the case in Laconia? It says reduced by 48, so you actually asked for
Yeah.
6-7 grand?
That's a mistake. That was a couple years ago, and that should not have appeared on this documentation.
So that's actually an accurate amount.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at see how you're going to come up with the money next year.
The town of Samberton, I'm not sure why we dropped off their budget, but I'll be visiting with them.
Good job.
Yeah. No, there's no money that comes from the schools, school district or anything, it's just direct from each town. But
Grants and...
But the town, because we share with other towns, so Samberton kids actually do get some benefits by what the Tilton residents do. It'd be nice if they chipped in a little.
They will.
Pat, you had a question or a comment?
I have a question. I thought I just heard earlier that the majority of your staff is made up of volunteers, yet under your new beginnings expenses, your personnel budget makes up 70% of your budget at $220,000. How can it all be how can it be mostly volunteers?
So we have 20 active volunteers. You probably know more than I do about the personnel.
We've actually, that budget incorporates 2 positions that we haven't filled yet.
I'm sorry, that you haven't filled yet?
Right.
Filled,
Yeah, that we're actively interviewing for right now.
What's an average salary for someone working there?
It depends on their, the responsibilities. It can go anywhere from $10 an hour to $18. The director obviously makes more than that.
How many paid employees do you have?
I think we're at 5 now.
Is it all on here?
5 paid employees
5
make
or
up
6.
$222,000?
Let's see, tell me.
Kathy, myself, Linda, Trish, who's data.
They're hiring. That includes benefits too, I believe. But it includes health insurance and...
We're, I know we pay, compared to sister programs, we fall right in the middle.
Yeah.
What does all other account for under the budget?
Oh, that would be shelter, could be,
Well, you have shelter,
where we have space rent occupancy. And yes, yeah, wages and salaries are the actual budget is, for salaries, only salaries, is 172. So it could be advertising, equipment leasing, I don't know, there's equipment.
Emergency assistance.
Yeah, emergency assistance, communications like internet, maintenance, building maintenance, plowing, snowing, mileage reimbursements, alarm expenses, office supplies, postage. We have an outside accountant who comes in and makes sure that our budget's in line, that our expenses are allocated properly. All of those other overhead expenses.
for the towns that did not budget, do you still assist?
We do, we don't, nobody's refused,
Well,
nobody's...
what happens? Do you charge them, or
Yeah.
is there a policy or anything in place? So if Tilton didn't pay this year $1,530,
We would not refuse services to Tilton residents.
where would the money come from?
It would come from our savings, and eventually, if we continue to lose funding and not be able to make it up somehow, the agency would become insolvent. We've got a few years before that happens, but, nonprofits are struggling. And we're not the only ones, it's all around, nonprofits are struggling. Last year, we lost United Way funding, which was like $20,000 that we've had to make up.
So there's 8 towns that actually donate.
It's all done right, Connie.
Got this on the
And 3 that don't out of that. So you're asking the other towns to pick up the slack where they don't.
I guess it can be looked at that way, and I would prefer that it be looked at as the town is helping us to leverage keeping the organization up and running. Is it fair? No. But we can't force the towns to pay. We can't. And it wouldn't be fair to the victims if we said, I'm sorry, your town didn't contribute to our services, so we can't help you. It's tough. It's not easy.
Pat, all set?
Well, I had another question. You
Okay.
said something about savings, so now I want to know how much is in savings.
We have 31,000 in just a regular savings, and another 78,000 in investments, CDs.
How much?
Set, sir, ma'am?
No, I appreciate it. I'm a huge advocate from the beginning, so I have to ask these questions.
Sure, no, go for it. I'd rather you ask and, well, leave it out in question.
Now, do you get any other agencies that assist with maybe counseling or things like that?
Genesis does.
Genesis does. Do they charge you by the hour for that?
They don't charge us
Charge the client.
if the client has insurance.
Yeah, they do. We also partner very heavily. Belknap County is really fabulous at collaborating, so we never, ever duplicate services. We refer out whenever possible, so we are the only domestic and sexual violence and stalking and human trafficking specialized agency in the county. But anything else, parenting classes, we refer out. We get assistance when the person we're serving is an immigrant or refugee. We get help from the Partnership for Public Health. We work with the faith community. We work with Genesis. We work with Health First. So the services that we're asking for funding for are very specific just to our organization.
Are there any other agencies that, assist with counseling, assist in the beginnings, other counselors or that? Or is it pretty much just Genesis?
It's just Genesis.
Pat?
How long has New Beginnings been dealing with human trafficking cases?
Always when it's been brought to our attention, it's a particularly isolated population. The law in New Hampshire for human trafficking was written in 2011, I believe, and that was by Jen Durant, who's at the coalition. So she sort of spearheaded the movement for us, and more is coming out every year. I actually did have a Tilton case in June with a woman who had been trafficked from another state, and we assisted her, and we've had a few just this fiscal year alone. So more and more, as more services are popping up, awareness is being raised, and folks are reaching out more, which is fabulous.
So you're trained in dealing with human trafficking?
More and more, and we're trained on the level where we understand sexual trauma, but we work with the Polaris Project and the federal government in the legalities and making sure people are safe and getting arrests made and all of that.
So having that information, do you reach out to other police agencies that you service and say, we're dealing with this and support each other in that?
Yep, so we go through a couple times a year, anywhere from 2 to 4 times a year. We go around countywide and try to get into roll calls at all of the police departments, just to stay in touch, to have them connected to a contact. And we also work with them regularly on a program called LAP, which is Lethality Assessment Program. So when they're responding to someone, people screen in and they call us directly 24/7. So we're very, very connected with law enforcement. On the Tilton case, I know I worked with a Tilton police officer, and then we also worked with someone at the federal level, and the survivor was connected to Polaris Project and moved on from there.
Jane?
No, I have when you say counseling, isn't there also a lot of counseling within your organization, one-on-one with people who've gone through the situation. I worked with the Manchester YWCA when we established Emily's Place. And a lot of the counseling was a one-on-one with people who had gone through the Emily's Place and had survived.
Yes.
And had gone to court. And there was group therapy, which didn't involve any professional on the outside at all. It was all in-house. Are you involved in that?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. So we refer to that as peer counseling, and
Okay.
because we're not licensed mental health clinicians, we have to be careful about describing that and drawing the line. And we always refer for professional counseling as well. But knowing, like you said, knowing the process, having an understanding of the trauma and everything that goes into it, we do offer the peer counseling, and that's usually like a 45-minute session once a week or as often as the survivor needs it.
And you've done a good job drawing those boundaries, because there's not heard complaints from the professionals about you coming into their turf. We are very turf-orientated, so you've done well to keep the
Very
boundaries.
different.
Does the Budget Committee or Select Board have any further questions or comments?
I have one.
Go for it.
I see the prior town breakdown of the town monies is quite different than current. How well do they stay on the budget? Like, maintenance and repair last year was 4,000, and this year's 500, which I would want to see more in education shelter than maintenance and repair.
Last year, we had a couple incidents with bedbug outbreaks.
Oh, that's in that? Okay. Okay.
That will do it. Christine, anything else?
Nope.
This is your time. Do you have anything you'd like to end on?
Just thank you for your time,
Thank you for your patience.
listening to us, and
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for your support. And we always want to know how we can help more and how we can improve our services, too.
We will get there. You thought you were going to just sit back and not do anything, right?
Well, I also want to say thank you, and as somebody new to the Lakes region, I think your town is so lovely. Beautiful. Yeah.
Move here.
And it's not as bad as you thought it was going to be. So we don't bite lately. We've been actually trained pretty well. Any further questions from us? If not, thank you for showing.
Do you guys have our contact information for the additional information?
Yeah,
Thank you very much. All righty.
I'm sure that
Joanna,
Howard-
they contact Jill.
Joanna, I was going to give her hers, yes.
They're very rewarding. I mean,
they are rewarding, very rewarding.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Have a good night now.
Thank you.
Okay, we have two pieces of business we need to take a look at. First piece is the financials. I talked with Tim this week. Tim will be with us next week. He will entertain any questions, although Pat did a really good job having all the answers for us tonight. But Jim would like to be part of that session, so with the permission of the board, I would like to postpone that until next week and take that up on the agenda. The second piece I'd like to talk about, meeting minutes, please read through them. And if there's any
I just want to
questions,
know if Catherine's being punished.
She's in the
Naughty
corner.
chair.
and while you're reading through the minutes, Joanna, who do we have for next week?
Next week, we have Old Home Day in Casa.
Old Home Day and Casa. The meeting will be next Wednesday,
When I was going to say.
okay?
We got these graphs today.
We'll talk about those in just a second. Okay, any discussion over the meeting minutes?
Spread.
Hearing none, Chair will entertain a motion to accept the minutes.
So moved.
Jane moves, do I have a second? John seconds. Any questions or discussion, additions, subtractions? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. John, would you explain to us what you have for a chart?
What's he going to explain to us?
I have a question.
Okay, John's getting ready.
The non-public minutes, are we supposed
Yeah,
to,
no, go ahead.
what are we supposed to do with these?
Non-public meetings go back to Joanna.
Oh, I didn't realize they were in there until just now. I couldn't,
Oh, we didn't take a look at them, did we? Oh, Joanna, you're gonna stop me from ranting and raving.
I was just reading it, I'm like,
Wait, hang on for a second. I'll entertain a motion to go into non-public, so we can review the minutes.
Do we need to change
All right,
anything?
I make, so moved.
I second that
According to
motion. Paul,
91A,
91A,
yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
yes,
Question on it.
yes.
Do we need to, or are we going to, does
I just
anybody
wanna
plan
be
any changes? If not, we can just do it in public and,
Yeah, I just want to be safe anyways, just in case something comes up.
okay, I didn't have anything.
I didn't have anything.
Do you have anything? If nobody has anything, we don't need to go into
Does
non-public.
anyone have anything? Okay,
Save a little time.
all right. I will take a motion to accept the non-public meeting minutes as written. Do I have a motion?
I move to accept the...
Do I have a second?
Second?
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? These meeting minutes are accepted. Please pass your copies to Joanna
I'm abstaining because I wasn't here.
for non-public, okay?
I don't know.
John, Troy,
So this,
Non-public,
non-public.
where is the non?
non-public.
It's on the...
Did you try?
So, what we have here, now, the numbers are going to change just a little bit because there was a couple pieces of information that were not there, the last report. But what you have here is
Is that it?
the police department
I'm trying to...
tracks the mileage on all the vehicles. And if you look at your front page,
I don't really
it's very small, but those numbers are all extrapolated into the reports on page 2 and into the graph. You can see on page 2, we have the monthly totals. The vehicles are along the top, and the month is down the left column. The year-to-date is along the bottom. To make it a little more graphic to see, you can look at your vehicle usage report, and the column on the, or the graph on the left, you can see the top line is 160,000, the bottom is 0. This lists all the cars with a different color line and shows how many miles on each car there is and how those miles accrued. So you can see, you have,
4A is a
see.
lot.
if you look at the top one, the 4B,
Captain, yeah.
4B, the captain, you can see his vehicles up at the top of the line. So that as they move up here, you're going to have more mileage on them. And also you can see the frontline vehicles like 4A, you can see was virtually brand new at the beginning of the year, and a lot of miles were put on in that vehicle. So any vehicles with the steeper line are going to be ones that received a lot of use. The ones flat were not used as much. Any more questions?
Vehicle 5A is not on your chart.
Vehicle 5A.
Just so you know.
5A, just got it. I'll add it on to there. Thanks.
Question, any other questions or discussion about the report?
Well, motorcycle doesn't exist anymore, so.
We shot the motorcycle.
And the other vehicle,
Grant to lease it.
the Expedition there, that is gone. It was traded in. We have a new vehicle that was purchased. It is just like the SUV type, all-wheel drive. We trade that in. We got a really good deal on trade-in. I think we got, Pat, was it $15,000? $15,000 for that. And so with the trade-in, and we got a brand-new 2016 for $10,000, $11,000?
12,000. 14,000, including the lights and everything.
So for $14,000, we have a brand-new all-wheel drive with all the lights and fully equipped. So, and the Expedition was not really a good police-type car. It's not pursuit rated. It didn't handle very well. It wasn't safe. It was-
Jules, you had a question?
Maybe you already said this, I apologize if so. The bottom line, looks like the 3D, what is that, private investigator? This PI,
3D
the bottom line.
Police interceptor.
Okay.
Scepter.
Police interceptor.
Same thing.
Did not have miles?
So those are the new cars?
The new one.
Oh, that's the brand new one, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why.
It's with all the LED stuff and all that other good stuff.
Some of the final reports I just got today,
Yeah.
and I worked all day too, so I,
Oh, no.
during my 15-minute coffee break,
No, this is very,
so, but I'll keep these
Yep, good.
updated, and I can send them to everybody as a actual spreadsheet, so you can look at them yourself.
Any further business for the Budget Committee? If not, Christine, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Jules, would you like to second it?
second.
This way it's not
It's
changing.
a non-debatable motion. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. See you next week.
Opposed.
Okay, you can be opposed.